Governor Mary Fallin has signed into law 23 bills to overhaul the state's civil justice system and praised lawmakers who she said made a good faith effort to enact legislation that will pass constitutional muster. Lawmakers spent 5 days at a cost of about $30,000 a day rewriting legislation struck down earlier this year by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. The first legislative special session in 7 years wrapped up in relatively quick fashion after a week marked by political wrangling and sometimes heated debate.
I think the public would like us to solve the problems that they see, and that's exactly what this is attempting to do.
The problems, as House Republicans see them, are so-called frivolous lawsuits brought in cases of medical malpractice or product liability. Governor Fallin called lawmakers back to the Capitol to rewrite legislation changing Oklahoma's civil justice system after the Oklahoma Supreme Court found that a 2009 bill to overhaul the state's tort laws was unconstitutional because it included several subjects in a single bill. The House and Senate passed nearly 24 bills on the final day of the special session, including a measure to grant manufacturers or sellers of inherently unsafe products exemption from liability. Representative Don Arms, arguing in favor of the bill, cited the example of an Oklahoma gas can manufacturer. Blitz USA filed bankruptcy in 2012, claiming it could no longer afford liability insurance.
So wouldn't it be safe to say that because we try to idiot-proof every product in America in the court system, that because we try to do that in these frivolous lawsuits and lawsuits that basically are caused by user error, we've now put a company, and it's just one example, but it's a glaring example for us in Oklahoma. One manufacturer, the largest manufacturer of gas cans in the United States, by the way, is now out of business.
Representative Richard Morissette countered that product liability lawsuits help keep consumers safe and pointed to the automobile industry, which he says fought tooth and nail to keep from having to put seatbelts in cars.
Finally, after many court trials and whatever, they finally put seatbelts in cars. Now we have airbags. We have cars that actually have cameras in the back so that people don't bash into other cars when they're backing up, et cetera, et cetera. All of that stemmed from the idea that people were being maimed, hurt, and killed because manufacturers were creating and making products that were dangerous.
House members also fought over a bill that recodifies the Asbestos and Silica Claims Priorities Act. Representative Mark McCullough insists that bill is necessary to make sure that people who've suffered from exposure to asbestos and are most in need of assistance will be first in line for claims.
We are triaging the cases, the people that need to be seen in front of a judge so that they can get their claim expedited, so they can get compensated.
Opponents, such as House Minority Leader Scott Inman, were cynical.
But make no mistake about it, this legislation, drafted by a special interest group, not by our House or Senate staff, but drafted by a special out-of-state interest group funded by major corporations who want to get out of lawsuits for asbestos claims, is not good for people suffering from mesothelioma. This bill is here for one reason: to make it tougher for people who've suffered from asbestos poisoning to file a case. Period.
The measure passed by a margin of 71 to 21. The vote was much closer on the most controversial measure of the session, a bill requiring a certificate of merit before a medical negligence lawsuit can proceed. Representative Kay Floyd argued the High Court had twice made it clear the requirement created an unconstitutional special law and that the cost of hiring an expert imposes an additional hurdle that limits access to the courts.
Because this bill does not address that aspect of the court's opinion, aren't we getting ready to pass a bill knowing that it's going to be found unconstitutional for a third time?
Supporters of the measure maintain it addressed the court's concerns by waiving a $40 certificate of merit filing fee for those who can't afford it.
Which we believe is going to remedy the issue. And I don't, you never know what the Supreme Court is going to come back and say, but we believe that this particular remedy is going to take care of what the Supreme Court raised.
McCullough also questioned the High Court's definition of what constitutes a special law.
Can we never create or regulate causes of action or rules of evidence? If that is the case, you got to tell us with specificity what we need to do to make this work.
When the dust settled, 15 Republicans joined 21 Democrats in voting against the measure, which received the bare minimum of 51 votes necessary for passage. After the session ended, House and Senate majority leaders praised the efforts of lawmakers and took aim at the Supreme Court ruling which prompted the session. Senate President Pro Tem Brian Bingman issued a statement saying this special session was needed to end the legal chaos created by the June Supreme Court ruling. A statement from House Speaker T.W. Shannon said, House Republicans are proud of the way we have quickly responded to and undone the damage caused to Oklahoma's businesses and medical providers by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. The Certificate of Merit bill and 3 others failed to garner enough votes for the emergency clause, so those measures will not go into effect until December.